Okay, so I'm not sure how many of you have actually had any experience so far with the focus group. So this is maybe some of you have, but we assume that this is like a very basic first level kind of training for a focus group discussion, just to make sure that we cover all the issues that we want to cover. And maybe for some people, they're kind of obsolete, or like some people already know them. So I apologize in advance for that. But I hope, everyone finds something at least that they don't know, or they've forgotten with time. So I really hope that this is useful for everyone. Let me just say that after the presentation, we will be sharing obviously the presentation, but also a couple additional facilitation documents. For example, our own rules for beneficiaries that, depending obviously on the target group that we're implementing the focus group discussion with, we obviously change it a bit. If it's like unaccompanied children, if it's like mothers with children in the room or whatever, but it's a kind of a good guidance on where to start, for example, together with some other documents in general for facilitating focus group discussions that I think would also be useful for everyone. You can find things in there that may be useful for you. So just to not worry about taking notes or whatever, we will share everything after the training. So starting with, you also see yourselves also in the presentation, right? The side or not?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I can't avoid that, sorry. Okay, so I would just like everyone to, take a personal note on what they think a focus group discussion is and what is the purpose it serves for their research objectives. Just take 1-2 minutes to write down what you think. And it's good because, especially for people who haven't been very active with focus groups, it's nice to compare this with even after this training, but also especially when you actually implement a focus group, then you have to compare what you write about it and then with the increased knowledge that you have. So take a minute. Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, so keep that to yourselves. It's not for sharing, so you could write anything really. And then we move on to what is actually a focus group discussion. So a focus group discussion is, first of all, and primarily a research method that can be combined with other research methodologies. And the reason it's a research method, it's a very important purpose of collecting deep insight and information from participants. That having said that, the whole process from designing a focus group discussion to attracting a selected number of people to participate in the focus group and what the characteristics of the participants will be, to how we conduct it and then how we analyze the results are very important throughout the process. Okay, so a focus group discussion basically is a discussion with a small number of participants. Again, depending on the target group, it could be between 6 to 12 people, really depending also on the subject we are concerned with. Because if it's more intimate or private issues like violence, for example, that we implemented in Greece a while ago, it's better to have smaller groups so that participants can feel a bit more safer to share, for example. So the number of people really changes depending on what the setting is and what the topic of discussion is. And it's a discussion which takes place under a guidance of a moderator who actually drives the discussion and makes sure that it runs smoothly. So focus group discussions are mostly used when the topic under discussion is complex and there's a lot of issues that cannot be addressed through a questionnaire type of survey, for example. So you need more qualitative data. The interaction, sorry guys, I'm going to minimize you so I don't see you so that you can actually see my screen. It's used when also the interactions among participants yield useful insights. For example, you want to see how different insights and different types of view are have a sort of dynamic between them and how people analyze their thoughts and their feedback. And also, it's going to be used when participants feel more comfortable sharing in a group setting. Obviously, there's a lot of issues that you do not ask when you have a focus group discussions that are very sensitive. So that could be obviously a private or individual questionnaire type of methodology. But there's some issues that when they are shared among the group, participants usually feel better to share it among everyone. So by the way, if anyone has any question along the process, make sure that you ask me on the spot. That's totally okay. So this is actually not ours. It's taken from this link here. Just analyzing the loop of a focus group discussion. First of all, we start from here and we determine the topic and the goals of the focus group, what we are actually aiming to receive in terms of feedback and information from the focus group. Then we go to the step of identifying potential participants, again, based on the characteristics and what they're willing to share with us. So the mix is very important to make sure that we understand how to identify what types of people and what experiences we're trying to elicit. Then we going into preparing a guide where we are preparing basically the guidance of the theme of the focus group discussion, what themes we're going to be addressing, what questions we would like to ask, and making sure that these questions are posed in an appropriate and sensitive matter, based also on the vulnerabilities of the people that are going to be participating, but also on the sensitivities of the subject that we're going to be concerned with. So pretty much this guide is a guide for the moderator so that they can actually have a flow of the discussion and how to move forward from one question to the other. So this has to be prepared by the moderator or the team beforehand. Obviously, we choose a location for the focus group. We want to make sure that that location is a location where the participants feel safe. They feel that they can it's an environment where they can actually share. The focus group discussion is taking place within a private room. There's no other people coming and going, obviously. There's no interruptions, and that's the most important thing. Then we go into the recruitment of the participants. We're going to cover later what we inform them about and what they need to know during recruitment so that they are well aware in advance of the process and what they're going into, okay? And also about the information that we want to share with them in terms of the theme of the discussion, etc. Then we conduct the session by a trained moderator, the focus group discussion, and then we analyze the results of the focus group, obviously, and it's better to, if we're not if we're not recording, just making sure that all the notes are then written up clearly right after, because a lot of information is shared during the focus group discussion, and people tend to forget even the final details. But in the focus group discussion, we want to make sure that we record every single detail that is shared during the focus group discussion. So it's really important that if we're not recording, so that it's transcribed afterwards, that the notes are well documented right after the focus group. Is everything okay so far? I suppose yes.
I have a question.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
Could you go back?
Yes, oops, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the part about the recruitment of participants, you say to receive an incentive. What kind of incentive we have to give them?
Well, if we're talking about this specific project, for example, if it's youth workers and it's unaccompanied children, the incentive might be a kind of different for the two groups, right? For unaccompanied children, for example, in our case, what we always do is we bring snacks, coffee and tea, and not coffee, because tea and this is a very good incentive for these children. It's very easy to recruit unaccompanied children. The reason being that they usually have, spare time, right? So it's not hard to However, a very, very good rule when recruiting children is that you want to make sure that you know beforehand the relationships between the children that you're recruiting, because there's a lot of bad blood or negative feelings between different children, so you want to make sure that the group, it's not all friends or whatever, but there's no severe prior incidents between children in the group, just to make sure that you avoid some children not speaking or using the focus group discussion as a means for attack or anything like that. Okay, so especially for children, that's not about incentivizing, but I wanted to share it now since I remembered that's very important to know the relationships between the children. So in terms of incentivizing, for example, youth workers, obviously, we don't have a budget for that, which is basically, a kind of remuneration fee or whatever. But what we do with our youth workers is we take their work time to implement the focus group. We do not use extra time for this focus group discussion. We use their work time for the focus group discussion. So it's something that takes them off work a bit and creates some time, 2 hours, where they can do something different, and that's usually enough for the youth workers. If they're youth workers now that are not within your organization, then so that means they are employed by another organization, for example. You have to work obviously with the employer to see what they think is a good incentive for them, because the context is very different. So it really depends on also the input from the employer.
Okay, I have another question. The next item, you say the duration of the meeting, of the discussion is between 90 and 120 minutes.
Yeah,
So
that's
I suppose we have to do some ¿cómo se dice? Un descanso, some break in the middle, because maybe 90 minutes is too much, or how shall we do?
Well, actually, it can work both ways. It really depends on the dynamic of the group while the focus group discussion is evolving. So I wouldn't advise either for or against a break for a focus group discussion, because it really has to do with the dynamic of the discussion. Usually what I do is I don't do breaks. And because if I see that, because it's a matter of the moderator engaging everyone in the discussion, and once everyone is engaged, they feel safe that they can share, they just want to start sharing. Therefore, there's actually, I mean, this is always our experience. So that does not mean it's the only right one, right? So the way we do it is we start the discussion, we make sure that everyone is engaged. If anyone lags behind, we try to re-engage them in the group and in the discussion with like some sort of like side questions or something that we feel might make it easier for them to engage back in the discussion. But instead of taking a break for everyone, if we see that someone is kind of tired, or they are starting to be disinterested or whatever, we can just tell them, I see that you're tired or whatever, you're free. Obviously, we say that to everyone at the beginning, but at that point that you see someone that is not, engaged or wants to leave, for example, you can tell them, you can take a break, you can just go outside or whatever if you like, and if it makes you feel better, and you can come back. Now, if you feel that all the whole group is like that, right, and they are not sharing and they feel tired or whatever, obviously you want to take a break, right? So there's no real right or wrong answer. The answer is you take it as it goes, and you see as a moderator whether a break is needed. If it's not needed, I wouldn't advise for it, because then you lose the momentum and the
Yes.
interest of the people to share. Okay? So I don't know if
Okay.
I'm answering, but it really has to do with the dynamic of the discussion onwards. I mean, it hasn't ever happened to me, to be honest, to have to.
Okay, so if it's not necessary because the discussion group is going well, so we could do the snack at the end, for example.
No, the snacks, you have them at the beginning, and I usually put them like on the middle of the table. Everyone can take at any point in time, so it's kind of you don't have to plan it before or after, whatever. You just have it there.
Okay, thank you. Very clear now.
Mm-hmm. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so what are the objectives of a focus group? First of all, is to understand their needs and experiences on the issue, to understand how much they can share with you or they want to share with you. And if you feel that there's a lot there that they want to share, you need to be able to facilitate that they feel safe so that they can share everything with you during the focus group. You want to make sure that you empower them, that they feel empowered, and that they are there because you want their feedback and their expertise. You're not there to share anything. You're there to receive everything that they have to give you. So you have to make them feel empowered, that they are there because they were selected to be there and because you want to get their viewpoints and that it matters. Okay. What I usually do there is I don't during the information provision and even like before the focus group discussion, obviously you explain well what the purpose of the actual research is, right? You tell them what this is about, etc. But what I usually do, to the extent that I can share, obviously, is that I try to give them a wider type of information on what are we going to do with this survey? What are we going to do with research as an organization? Obviously, what you tell them has to go, right? You have to make sure that what you tell them is going to happen. Not we are planning to or we're aiming to. You have to know that what you're telling them, you are actually going to implement it and they're going to see the results if they're, there with you, for example. So I usually try to give them a wider type of perspective on why we are concerned with this issue and what we're planning to do with the results. So this actually makes them more interested and more empowered to share, because they feel that their feedback informs of this process within your organization. Okay. Obviously, the most important thing that you have to do is to create a safe space so that everyone feels that they are not going to be judged. They are not going to be in any way, maltreated by anyone. Obviously, not the organization, but anyone there, so that they can share. I mean, feeling safe is the most important thing that I could share with you. That is one of the main objectives of what you need to establish before a focus group begins. Okay, so in terms of more the systematic approach of conducting a focus group discussion, as we said before, you design the research question and the goals, you create a discussion guide, you identify and select the appropriate individuals, as we said before. Then you invite the participants and make sure you obtain consent before they even come there, in case any administrative issues remain for participants. It's fine for participants to sign a consent even on the day of the focus group discussion, but make sure that they give consent before you start and even before the recording begins. Don't make the mistake of saying, it's okay, they can sign later. A lot of things can go wrong if they don't sign a consent beforehand. So this is extremely important. Make sure that you have a trained facilitator or moderator to set the ground rules, the guidelines for discussion, to encourage participation. And it's also a golden rule for us there that only one person can moderate the discussion. Additional persons can be in the room, obviously, from the organization, especially if you need interpretation, if you need people, for example, people who address the issues are like, youth workers, for example, who work with your target group there. And if you feel that the children or the participants would feel better if one or two people that care for them are present in the room, it's a good practice to do so. But make sure that depending on the number of participants that you have, there's not an overwhelm of other people in the room. For example, if you have 6 participants, it's kind of an overdoing to have 6 people from the organization, right? You don't want them to feel intimidated. So up to 3 people, I would say, is enough. Okay.
Marilena, can I add something here, please?
Sure.
It's something we discussed actually. Within the people involved in the focus group from the organization, there should be also one person to a psychologist or a social worker or somebody that could actually take care of a child that might end up in distress. And this is something that we do not only in the focus group discussions, but in any qualitative research. You should have somebody available to deal with all these matters. And also the children need to know that there is such a person available at any time. Okay?
Yeah, that's a good point, Marina. Thank you.
Yes.
We're gonna cover all this later, especially for people with children, but also for unaccompanied children. I mean, what Marina says is very important. I mean, we've had cases of children, for example, I'm just sharing an experience now where they might be, crying for something that is not actually the topic of the discussion, but it's something that is very relevant to their own experience and maybe not relevant either. But you have a child there who's in distress. They're crying. They want to share with you what they are experiencing, and you have to deal with. So what would you do? First of all, if you're not a psychologist, then if it's not your job to be a psychologist, or you can't help them. So if you don't have someone in the room, that Marina said, what you can tell them there is that, I understand your concern, I understand these issues. Unfortunately, this is not a space where you can get support. If you like, you can go outside and freshen up and, take your time with it, etc. And I'll make sure with my colleagues that they will attend to you as soon as soon as it is ended. So you can't really get into more support for these people if this happens in the focus group discussion. Obviously, they have to feel safe that whatever their reaction to anything is okay and it's a safe space. However, you cannot get further into that. So that's why Marina said that it's always a good idea to have someone there who can take that case and address it, on the outside or whatever, so that they can either come back if they feel better, or they might, end up not being able to continue. Okay. So, so once before it starts, you need to make sure that you remind them of why they're here, that you want to receive their feedback and experiences and everything. You set the ground rules. We're going to go into them later. And you need to make sure that you encourage participation and that they have to feel that this is a safe space. And you also have some rules about how they conduct themselves between themselves during the focus group discussion and with you as a moderator. Then you make sure you collect all the consent forms, and then you let them know once the recording begins. You have to tell them from beforehand during the information provision that the focus group discussion is going to be recorded or not. If it is, you have to inform them from the initial stages, not during when you're starting the focus group discussion. Okay, so once everything is set and you set the ground rules, etc., you can start the recording and tell them, now the recording started and we can start the focus group, the questions. Okay, during the moderation, I'm going to expand on it later, but during the focus group discussion, you just make sure that you observe everyone in the room. Usually what happens is some people talk more and a lot, and some people don't. You have to make sure that you are able to encourage same amount of time and participation by everyone. There's different methods to do so, and we're going to address them later. Okay, but you also need to make sure that you are aware of any non-verbal interactions between the focus group discussion, because if there's any, as I said before, any bad feelings between people, the focus group discussion might be a way for some to take advantage and to use whatever someone said afterwards in a bad way. In case you are aware of any such non-verbal interactions, you make sure that you communicate that after the focus group discussion to your relevant colleagues, so that they can address the issue with the participants immediately after, just to make sure that whatever is shared in the focus group discussion remains within the group, and none of the participants is going to make use of anything that was said in a negative way or in any way, really. Okay. So going into the analysis, if you have a transcription, which is actually the best.
Marilena, can I ask a question
Yes.
about this? I just want to say, is it useful to have, for example, two different facilitators, one that mediates, as you said before, just one that talks in a way, so explain the rules, encourage participation, and the other one that observes the dynamics so that nothing can be overlooked? Or it is weird to have just a person that observes and not engage directly with the children?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Whoever is in the room, the participants, they have to be clear on what their role is.
Okay.
Right? So it's kind of awkward, and it's kind of intimidating, really, to tell the participants, this person is here to do that.
Yeah.
So obviously, what you can do with the team beforehand, if it's another person or two or whatever, you can, during the preparation of the team before the focus group discussion, just discuss that and say, we have to do that, and we have to make sure that we observe any interactions, positive or negative, between the participants. But make sure that you do that like in a very non-evident way, let's say, and make sure that you don't have one person doing that in the focus group discussion. They have to have another role and another function, but the whole team can actually, do that during the discussion. Make
Of
sense?
course. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because it's important for the participants to know what each person from the organization is doing in the focus group discussion. Otherwise, if it starts raising, they shouldn't have any clarities or anything that was not shared, or any gaps in what they know about the focus group discussion, in order for them to feel safe. Okay,
Yes,
that's
of course.
I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What you said before about the consent document,
Yes.
shall we have ¿cómo se dice? Un documento. Shall we have a kind of model? Mhm.
You asked.
It is necessary to record, or just record with the recorder voice, or just to take to make a registration writing document?
Sorry, I didn't catch the question. I'm really sorry. Can you
So,
ask?
if it's necessary to record the session.
You mean audio recording? No, it's not necessary, obviously. I mean, you can do it without recording, but as I said, you run the risk of losing a lot of detailed information if you're not recording. Obviously, you can do it without. You can take notes. The whole team can take notes. But again, that might be kind of intimidating if participants got 3 people taking notes, which again is not very, I wouldn't recommend that. But you definitely will lose information. So if you can record. That's, yeah.
Marilena, I have one more question, if I may. What about the consent? Do we need to collect consent or extra maybe agreement regarding recording, or at the beginning of the session we just do?
No, in the consent forms, we include that I consent that this focus group discussion is recorded, so that they know. We have it in the consent form. They consent to it. So if you're deciding that you are recording, if anyone doesn't want to be recorded, you can't include them in the focus group discussion. If you decide that you're not recording, then you don't have to include it in the consent form, and obviously they can participate. But as I said, you inform them from the beginning that the focus group is going to be recorded, and recording is in the consent form that they sign. But also, I'm going to send you, as I said, I'm going to send you the template of the consent form. And what we also say in the consent form regarding recording is that I consent to be recorded, but there's no identifiable information between my voice and my identity as a person for this focus group discussion. So in other words, the organization is not going to do a matching between the name of the participant and their voice in the recording. Okay, so we also say that, we also mentioned that in the consent form. Okay, is that clear? Yes? Okay.
I think everything is okay.
Okay, sorry, because I don't see you. I just because I need
sorry.
to...
Yes.
That's okay. Just say yes because I don't see you. I just see my presentation. Okay, so the other very, very important thing, if you have interpretation for the focus group discussion, you set specific rules for the interpretation. Obviously, it complicates things a lot. They have to be aware of it, and you have to tell them that we all have to work with this complication. I understand the difficulty, but we can make it work. So you will also let them know how you will work with it. For example, you are going to be posing the question. Nobody's going to be talking. The moderator is going to be translating the question, and then one person at a time takes the lead, and they start talking. Then we can cut them during they speak, so that the interpreter, we need to make sure that the interpreter is able to interpret what they heard, and then the person continues, the interpreter continues, and then you have a whole answer. It's complicated, but this is a very, very structured way, is the only way it can happen. So you have to make sure also that the interpreter is very well acquainted both with the interview questions and the overall context and the theme of the focus group discussion from beforehand, so that they can do the interpretation more easily. You don't just bring in an interpreter that you booked them from before and just start the discussion. You send them the interpreter is part of the team. You send them the questions from beforehand. You make sure that they understand all the questions. You do a session with the interpreter beforehand so that they have any clarities on what the questions mean, any terminology or whatever, because something might be very easy for you and you might know it, but an interpreter might find some words unknown or difficult or not sure what they mean or whatever, because just also take into account that there's a contextual and meaning differences between words, between languages. So you have to make sure that your interpreter is as close to you as possible in terms of the knowledge of the questions and the whole context of the focus group discussion. Okay, that's also very, very important. Okay, and then obviously a last step, as we said before, is the comprehensive report, where you present the findings in detail. What we usually do is, obviously, if we're not given a specific template, for example, for a focus group discussion from a leader or whatever, what we usually do is we break down the report in the different themes that were covered, and we do a very analytical description of what the highlights of the discussion were. And then it's also, everyone says that, and it makes sense that you include also catchphrases or even whole sentences of what participants said, so that you give the real aspect of what the discussion was about and why these themes are highlighted in the discussion. Okay, it's always a good practice to do that. Then it basically, the report follows a typical research report, where after the analysis of the findings based on the themes, you do an overall discussion of the findings overall in general, and then you obviously provide recommendations on the future of the study, or in parallel to any other research methodology that you have, for example. So in our project, if we're also doing the KIIs, if we're doing the KIIs first, so then we do the focus group. So it's I said interview, sorry, the questionnaire, I'm sorry, not KIIs, it's a questionnaire, it's a simple questionnaire, I'm sorry for that. So then we can decide on whether the research report also includes all of them together or not. But that's, always depending on what your project is about. Is everything clear so far?
Yes, thank you, Marilena.
Yes.
Thank you. So, okay, going with FGDs with vulnerable or at-risk populations. Again, first of all, we prioritize safety. It's also what Marina said before, that you have to have either in the focus group discussion or not possible, somewhere close, someone who can take charge, or a professional who can take charge of such cases so that they can attend to them on the spot. That's what having support staff available is about. You always stick to the questions that you have, or to the theme that you have. Obviously, you can ask a lot of additional questions to make sure that they understood and that they will share more analytical information about what you asked. If they answer like with one sentence or whatever, you can ask follow-up questions always to get more information. However, you never get out of the topic of the discussion, because a lot of times participants might tend to do that, and you want to make sure that you always bring them back to the topics of the discussion. Okay, it's oftentimes that some participants might derail the discussion very easily, not because they are willing to do that or because they want to, harm the whole thing, the whole process. It's because of what they bring with them. However, that is not a place to address anything like that. So you need to be firm on setting boundaries to them on that this session is about discussing this topic. Anything else we can address later with our expert colleagues, etc., etc. We're going to get into that a bit later, but this is all the point about avoiding triggering or traumatic topics. And obviously not engaging in discussions other than the topic of the discussion, of the focus group discussion. Now, in terms of cultural sensitivity, that's again a very big issue. For example, with unaccompanied children, it's very hard to, and you might not want to have, children just from one nationality, for example, because, there's some clashes maybe sometimes between different nationalities just because of the nationality or whatever. So how do you, if you want to have a focus group discussion with children from different nationalities, which is, a very good example of what your population is, right? You want to have representation from all your target populations, right? So you have more than one nationality. So what happens there? Again, it's their preparation is very important. However, you need to communicate to them that this is a space where there's no we understand and we appreciate everyone's cultural background, and this is what we want. We want to have that background from you. However, it's a space where we accept everyone's cultural background. I'm sorry for the background noise, and that they should also be culturally sensitive between themselves and between each other. The most important thing that you can tell them is that they have a lot to learn from other cultures. So similarly to what we're doing with them, to include all of them in the discussion, and because we have so much to learn from each and every one of them, this is what they should be doing, not just in the focus group discussion, but throughout their co-living with everyone in the in the facility or wherever they are at. So cultural sensitivity has its both its obligations and also its perks. So you have to communicate it to them that way. This is a very beneficial way that proved working very well for us. Okay. Obviously, with any type of group, you need to use simple language. A lot of times, the issues which we are concerned with, we have a lot of definitions for them, like GBV or whatever. But obviously, you can't tell people GBV, right? You have to use very, very simple language language that they understand, and that the interpreter can translate to them in a way that they actually understand it. Okay, if we have jargon in our project or our topics or whatever, we scrap them all and we make sure we use simple and accessible language so that everyone understands what we're asking. Okay. Well, the other one, creative methods. Well, it really depends on the moderator, actually. So there's no particular thing I can tell you there, but if once you start implementing focus group discussions, you will see how creative you can become during the focus group discussion with engaging people, avoiding traps and whatever. So I'm sorry, I can't give you more information there, but why is that there? Because you need to make sure that you understand that you have to be very well prepared, that you will have to be creative during the whole focus group discussion with a lot of issues. So I'll just leave it there and we'll see a lot of examples afterwards so that you understand what I'm talking about, okay? But there's no like one or two things that I can say right now. Oh, sorry. Okay. So taking a step back before the focus group begins, what do we do? You select the room, you select the space. We said what needs to be done for the space beforehand, that they feel safe, etc. So in the focus group discussion, you want to make sure that everyone sees everyone. They all see you, but they also see everyone else. So the chairs in the room should be arranged in like in a circle type or like oval type. Like, you know, if it's like 5 or 6 people, for example, you can put them in like even like a rectangular table, but you want to make sure that they all, you know, see each other. 12 people in a rectangular table does not work very well. So you just try to make sure that everyone sees each other and they're not like that or whatever. Okay, it's how you create like a kind of group type of atmosphere so that they can share with everyone and they can see everyone in the face, basically. Okay, so, well, the ground rules poster, it's a good idea. However, not all the times it happens that, you know, during a focus group discussion, a participant will just look in on the wall and, you know, remind themselves of that. What I usually do is we go through, before it begins in the introduction and everything, we go through each and every single rule on the list of rules, and we make sure that they all understand and accept the rules. That is critical. That's very important because you kind of establish a sort of formal agreement with them that they are on board of what the rules are and they are going forward with them. So you can, what I usually do is I actually print them out. I circulate it to everyone. If it has to definitely be in their language. But in any case, I also start and go through each and every one of the rules that we have on board there, and we make sure that everyone agrees. If they don't agree, we tell them to share with their disagreement and why is that, etc. If it's something that, you know, it's not that no, I don't want that, which obviously takes them out of it, doesn't happen, but, you know, it might. You can discuss further why you have that there, why it's important, and why they should abide by that. I mean, you have to give the whole explanation, which is fine for people to ask and get a response to. Okay, so obviously the ground rules are gonna cover them later, but the important parts are the maintain confidentiality, participate as much as possible because you are selected to be here among others. You respect other people's opinions. Listening is as important as talking, so we don't interrupt people. We make sure they complete what they have to say, and then we raise our hands to talk or whatever, and that we welcome differences of opinion. So even if someone has an opinion different from everyone else, this is what we welcome and this is what we want in a focus group discussion. Okay, we need to make sure that they understand that so they are free to share. Okay, also, as I said, you review the ground rules, and you also ask if they think there should be any additional rules that should be added. It never happened, but it's good to also ask them because they feel that you give them control over what the ground rules are, and then they actually abide by them more easily. As I said, there's no right or wrong answer. The point of the discussion is to explore a range of perspectives and experiences. So even if a response is very different from the others, that's what we want, actually. We don't want the same answer for everyone. Otherwise, we would just have an interview with one people, right? The focus group discussion this is exactly the aim of it, to have different perspectives and experiences. And this is what they have to understand. I said that at the beginning, but it's important to make them feel that they're experts in their field or what the feedback they have to share, meaning that they are the only ones who know best what their stories, what their experiences are, what their viewpoint is, which you cannot in any other way get it. Even if you're working with them, you haven't been through what they have been through. So they are the best to share what actually is going on with them, right? And this is what we want, and we want to learn from them. It's okay to also allow people to think what they want to say during the discussion. So we make sure to not pressure people. If we can ask follow-up questions, but if you see that they do not want to share, you just, tell them, you take your time to reflect. If you want to answer on that later, that's fine, and then you allow for them to be able to sit back and organize their thoughts so that they can respond a bit later. Even if you move on to another subject, if they feel ready to share something from beforehand, you have to allow for that. Is everything okay so far?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Right. Okay, so again, ground rules, there's important, right? So now what we're doing right now, basically these rules are the ones we're gonna share with you in a single document, but I think it's important to cover them here as well. I'm not gonna take a lot of time, but I think it's also very important. First of all, you need to make sure that they understand that their name is not shared in any way. They do not have to share their name or anything else that identifies them at any point during the focus group discussion. They just raise their hands and that is it. You look at them while you're asking questions, so you don't have to have names. You don't have to have anything really that identifies them afterwards. You shouldn't, actually. It's not that you don't have to, you shouldn't have any. They have to understand that they have the right to leave the discussion at any point, and there's no repercussions in terms of anything that they are benefiting from or service provisions for them afterwards, so they don't feel that the fear that, oh, I'm not a good, I haven't completed that and maybe this will turn back to me or in some way. So you need to make sure that they are here on their own will, and there's no repercussion about anything in regards to how we view them, how we address them, how we conduct our business with them in service provision afterwards, okay? They just have to leave or for the bathroom and come back and return quietly if they want, but they can also leave at any point in time, and that's okay. Also, if they do not wish to answer a question they feel uncomfortable with, that again is totally okay. Some things we covered before, there's no right or wrong answers, but different point of views that we want. The most important thing from this slide is that we respect other participants and we do not make any comments or facial expressions or whatever. We do not react to what they said. We just say our opinion. We can also say, obviously, I agree, or this happened to me as well, and then you can move forward to share your experience as well. So in terms of disagreement, I do not agree is not a very nice way to say things in a focus group. So you just say, my experience is different to that. You can also tell them that these are the expressions to be used so that the conversation runs smoothly and that there's no like tension between the group. So you can tell them, if you disagree, you can say, my experience is different to that and I feel this and that, etc. Okay, so that they know how to also express themselves. Obviously, they need to make sure that they show respect to each other, even during or after the focus group discussion. Oh, sorry, I have a star there. One person speaks at a time. Nobody interrupts them from the participants, and they all listen to each other, and then they might raise their hand so that they take their turn to speak. And obviously, very, very, very important that you have to moderate for it continuously during the focus group discussion. Is there no discussions between themselves? Because there's often times when it's only lateral, obviously, but it doesn't help the focus group discussions on so many levels, so that people start like chatting with the person next to them, or they, even if they say, yeah, this, that, or whatever, if one couple does, everyone starts. And especially when you're recording, this messes up the whole recording. So you have to be really, really, really strict on this one. You interrupt them, you say, please do not talk between yourselves. You just, you have to be very, very firm on that. And you have to be on it all the time. You do not allow not even one single incident of this to happen. Otherwise, the whole discussion might be derailed. Okay, it's really important. I cannot stress that enough. Okay. Again, we are interested in negative comments as positive ones, not obviously about others, but about the subject that is talked about. And the other thing that we also have to understand is that there's a limited time for everyone there. You'll say from beforehand, it's going to be 90 minutes, 120 minutes, or whatever. Obviously, this cannot go any further than that. Having said that, you tell them from before that sometimes you will have to interrupt people when they start talking and talking and talking and they don't stop. Because it's not that we do not want your feedback or we don't respect your feedback. It's because we want to allow the same amount of time for everyone to talk on the same question. Especially when you have an interpreter, that becomes even more complicated, because imagine that with an interpreter, the duration of the focus group discussion pretty much doubles, because the interpreter has to interpret between you and them back and forth all the time. It's a fact. So even if you have an interpreter, if interpretation is needed, it's very important to make sure that you allow the same amount of time to everyone to speak. Obviously, it will happen, you cannot avoid it, that some people will talk more than others, but your role is to try to mediate for that as much as possible. This is what I've talked about. I'll give you 1 second to just read through it, and if you have any questions, please say so. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes, for me,
Great.
it's
Yes.
Great.
very
Okay.
clear.
Great. Okay. That another thing is obviously they switch off their cell phones. Everyone, you check that they have. If they have any questions or concerns even before or during the focus group discussion regarding the focus group discussion, obviously they are free to do so. but it's better if they share them beforehand so that we do not interrupt the discussion afterwards. Or you can tell them that if they have any concern with the focus group discussion, they can address it to someone else from your team in there, like the social worker or the youth worker, etc. And if they think that that's important for them to share with you, they can come and tell you, or you just allow for later, for addressing it later. Okay. Okay, so this goes for participants who have children with them, because we've done that and we wanted to cover the whole thing. Maybe it won't come to you at this point, but it's important to make sure that for participants who have children with them, participants might feel maybe insecure leaving their children in another room than the one where they are you're conducting the focus group discussion. If it's people you know and they come to your center or whatever often and they leave them, and that is totally okay. You tell them they're going to be next room, that's fine. But if it's people that you don't have that that sort of relationship with, a working relationship, and they have to have their children with them, you have to tell them that we have a staff here who can attend to your children during the time, etc. Just make sure that if the child needs you or they start to make noise or whatever, you can get out, take the child, calm them down, come back, then it's fine. We just want to make sure that we do not interrupt the flow of the discussion, and it's okay if you can leave to attend to your child and then come back. We've had cases where we had focus group discussions of 12 mothers with 13, 14 children. You have to accommodate for that. It's not always easy, and obviously children might move around or whatever. So the bet there, if you like, is to make sure that you engage the participants as much as possible, and you allow for them to hold their children if they want to. If their children are moving around and they're not sitting in one space, but they're not like doing noises or whatever, then you have to allow for that. But the key, at least for us, is to engage the participants so that they are there, and it usually works. But with children in the room, it always can get it can go in different directions, so that you have to be prepared for that with a team member, obviously, on site. Okay. Okay. Now, during the focus group discussion, sorry, we have another 15 minutes, yes? Or how much time do we have more?
Yes, we have the meeting
Okay.
was till the 12th. But
Okay, great. So, during the focus group discussion, what we're doing, we are facilitating the discussion. We're not leading or directing it. That means that we pose the question and we don't pin on a specific issue that was said. We allow for everyone to say what they want to say, and we focus only on issues that we think were not covered enough. Okay, so we want to make sure, because we're there to collect information and feedback, we want to make sure that all our questions are answered as completely and as possible by everyone. So we want to make sure that we allow participants to speak, but we're not leading into a specific subject, like from the ones they answered already. Okay, we want to keep the conversation open for everyone to share. A very, very important thing of the role of the moderator is to remain neutral and objective, to maintain a non-judgmental approach. Every answer is acceptable, obviously, except if they go against, personally to others. We can tell them this is not acceptable, etc. But obviously, we do not make facial expressions. We don't react in any way to anything that we hear, even if it's something that we do not agree with, we do not accept, we do not, whatever, it doesn't matter. You have to maintain a non-judgmental approach with everyone. This is like a basic rule about conducting a focus group discussion. Balance of participation is also very important. You will see that you will find in most of the time, asking people for their experience and they're not talking. So you ask them again in the next question, it's fine. At some point they will. At some point they will share something. So from their participation, from one participation, you will get something. Obviously, you're thinking later, oh, maybe this person didn't share anything and why did they come? That's always the case with some people, and it's a way for them to, they might not be there to share information with you. They might want to be there to listen to other people, right? There's a lot of people like that. You have to expect that. So it's fine, but because you don't know it from before, but you also want to get as much as possible from them without being pervasive. You just have to allow them to not answer in one question, but in the next question, ask them, is there anything you would have to say? Do you agree with that? What's your experience? You can ask different types of questions so that they can be engaged at some point. And at some point, they will say something. Okay? Again, about power dynamics among the group. If you see anything like that, you have to make sure you break them down and you make sure that everyone is equally participating there in terms also on dynamics, because a lot of people, when they say something, they say it in a way that they enforce their opinion, for, let's say, because this is how they talk, or this is who they are. So what you have to do is make sure that say, thank you, this is a very, very important feedback, I really appreciate it, but I'm pretty sure there's other things that people can say, and I want to hear from you. I want to hear something different, for example, right? So you allow the space for people to share something different. You just set the ground for people to say something different from someone else, right? This is how to break down the power dynamics in the group. You have to say, I want to I'm pretty sure you have different experiences. I want to hear all of them, for example, right? So you break that down and you allow with due process to everyone, but you allow for that to happen. It's okay if people are silent for a moment. Once you ask a question, some people, they reflect on what they want to say. Some people want to see others' reactions before they want to speak, which is totally okay. I might allow like even a minute for people to think, but I look at them in the eye and I understand, and I want them to understand that I'm waiting for them, which is fine, and I'm really looking forward to receiving what they are going to be telling me afterwards. Okay, so this is fine. Giving people time, even the whole group, is totally okay. Yeah, I think the others we've covered a lot before, so I'm not gonna go into that. So is everything okay so far? I suppose yes.
Yes, very
Yes.
clear.
Yes.
Okay, so some prompts, as I said before, like what you can tell them to warm them up, even at whatever point of the discussion. It's these questions here, there's more, but it's different kinds of prompts basically to enable conversation, and you can target these prompts to specific people, right? So you don't ask, in general, you ask, everyone, like across the whole team. There's more, but it's just some examples to help you with that. Okay, you'll see those later anyway. Another thing, the very important thing here is when you're asking a question, do not ask two questions. I mean, the way we do it is sometimes when we want to ask a question, we ask a question, and then we feel that we want to ask a follow-up question so that so that people understand exactly what we mean. Make sure that your prepared work in the question from beforehand is well thought through so that you ask one single question. If you see that people do not respond to it, then you can ask follow-up question. But usually when you ask more than one question, people get confused and they don't know which one to address or which one to answer, because whatever you ask, one question is definitely slightly different from another. So what you want to do there is make sure that you cover everything that you want to ask in one question and the question is clear. If they do not answer after they take their time, you can ask follow-up questions, clarifying questions, but do not ask more than one question at the beginning. See how they react to it and then ask follow-up questions if you see they don't understand or they don't respond, okay? Because usually they get confused. About validation of participants' responses, what we mean there is that you have to make them feel that whatever they say goes and is fine, that it was said, and it's good that it was said, even if it's negative, even if it's, you can never say, I don't agree or I don't disagree. Your role there is not to say your own opinion, first of all. So you don't share at any point in time your opinion, your thoughts, your reaction. Your face should be always positive. So you in no way you react to these questions except to validate them. So a way to validate their response is, I understand what you mean. This is very important. I'm really curious to see what else is there if you want to share more. Things like that, okay? Especially in the interpretation, if from the interpreter you feel that something is not clear to you, or if you sometimes feel that what this person said is not exactly, because it also happens, it's weird, but it happens, it is not exactly what the interpreter told you, you can ask again, and this is fine, because the interpreters are humans as well. They might have not understood exactly what that person said, but they had to translate. So it often happens that what that person wanted to say does not get directly through to you in the way that they wanted to say it. And usually you understand that, but obviously you don't want to know what else they said, but you can say, I'm sorry, can you please say that again so that I understand exactly through the interpreter what exactly you want to say. And then they do that again. Okay, it happens a lot, and you will understand that during the process, and it's fine to do that. It's fine to ask people to repeat their answer, okay? Just always remember, you're there to collect information, okay? So if it helps to rephrase the participant statements so that you follow up with the discussion, that's again okay. So you can say, for example, oh, I understand you said that, for example. Am I right? What else is there? Do you have more to say, or does anyone have anything else to say? Or you see someone, being kind of wanting to talk, but they're not really. I see that you might have something to say, do you have anything to say about that? So you have to keep the discussion flowing like that by also rephrasing the participant statements so that also you're making sure that you're interpreting their words correctly. That is totally okay, because they understand that you also have to understand what they're saying, right? It's only natural. I think this is fine in terms of this one. You have all of these afterwards anyway. So once you conclude them, obviously you have to have a good, you don't have to do that all the time, but you have to have someone from the team to, give you a heads up about the time so that you don't go fully overboard. Sometimes it happens that some questions might have not been covered as well as other ones. It's only natural again. So make your best to divide the time available between everything that you asked. It's not the best to ask 15 questions on a subject. ask a few questions and the good on the point questions, and then the discussion will follow. Okay, so have someone on task for taking time, but in general, for wrapping up, you have to make sure that the recording was okay. You will tell them that the recording is now ending, so that they know when it's ending. You give them a overview of what was discussed, and that I understood these things and they're really important for me and for the team, etc. And we covered these issues. And you always allow for additional comments or questions from participants. Usually they always have a question or a comment afterwards. So it's important to allow for that at the end by asking, is there anything else you would like to add, or do you have any further comments, etc.? You obviously thank them. You tell them again how important this focus group is for you and for the team and for the work you do, etc. And if you're planning to come back to them, for example, with the results of the focus group or with what you're going to do with that feedback, you can tell them again, but make sure whatever you tell them, you're going to follow through with it. It's very important in terms of accountability. And just debrief with the note taker that they are, if you're not recording, that everything is clear and everything is captured. If there's any issues, that's a problem because you obviously have concluded the focus group discussion. But if there's any serious issues, you can ask people to stay for a bit more so that you can cover one or two issues. It's not recommended, but at all. But if that is necessary and then something happened and no note was taken for some reason, you have no alternative. So you do that, right? But this is why it's important to be obviously organized from beforehand so these things don't happen. Okay, so I'm not sure if we can do that. I think we are very few people, so it's not relevant, I think, to work as in breakout rooms. So yeah, let's leave it there. I think we're very few people. So let me just close this. Yeah, okay. So this was it pretty much. There's a lot more, obviously. We will share, as we said, both the presentation and all the other documents that we have. But what I wanted with this meeting is mainly to share with you like what might happen, like my own experience. So that's why I kept talking about other different things, because I think this cannot be put down in a presentation. So at this point, I will allow my colleagues to add anything that, because everyone has obviously different experiences with focus group discussions. So ladies, if you have anything that you would like to add on this as well, this is the time to go.
I mean, you covered what it was needed.
Okay. Okay, so I mean,
I think it was pretty clear, but let the others, I don't know, ask questions or in
I
case
would
they didn't understand
I
something.
would just not add, but point out several things because, okay, we understand it was a lot. I will just emphasize on some things already said. One is to have somebody on board to be able to manage distress. The second one is to be really careful about the environment that we ask these, especially children, but also other, maybe women or people that have actually ongoing or past trauma. We can always check about the trauma-informed care and make sure that the environment that we are conducting this discussion group is relevant, is on board with some directives. I mean, these are really common directives. Yeah, that's what I wanted just to point out more.
Thank you, Marina. Okay, so I'm not sure if everyone's covered. If you have any additional, any additional points in the process of a focus group discussion that you would like to cover, we can discuss them right now, even if they're not in the presentation, obviously. If you have any like gaps in whatever in the process, please ask now, and we can address that right now. If there's any other,
Yeah, I have a question related to more to the composition of the focus groups, just to be all on board on how repeating how many people do we need in the focus group, and also if we need to conduct different focus group, like for example one just for the minors and one also for the social workers, if we have to do different things, or yeah, just more of a organization type of question, because I
I
know we need at least 20 operators, 20 social workers, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you tell me.
I think I will allow Ophelia to answer that since they are the leader of the package. I don't want to take up that role. So go ahead, Ophelia.
Well, thank you. According to the project proposal, I have to refer to the proposal in this case. Each partner needs to include 12 participants in total, including 4 unaccompanied minors, 4 youth workers, and the rest can be young people with migration background. I mean, if all of the young people in your target group are unaccompanied minors, this is okay, but the minimum of unaccompanied minors is 4. Then you have youth workers. In our case, for example, we will have 2 sessions. We have already discussed this. We will have it in 2 of our settings. One of them will be separate for young people with migration background, and the other one will be in Bogota, where you have already seen our unaccompanied minors. We will have one with them, with unaccompanied minors, with focal youth employees, youth workers, and the second will be with young people with migration background. This is how we consider it to work. Each partner, 12 participants per focus group, in total 60 for the whole consortium.
And it should be three in the beginning, the middle, and the end, isn't it?
Sorry, Anke, what do you mean regarding?
It's 3 meetings, isn't it?
During the project, we discussed that it's even possible to have only one. So you must have a look how it is best comfortable to you. For example, this was one case, one aspect that Guido corrected me, because for me it was 5 sessions, and then he said, no, we can keep this. I thought that per partner 5 sessions or 4 to 5 sessions, and they said that no, we can keep it flexible, and each partner can decide it in the way most suitable, comfortable. So
yeah, because sorry, Ophelia, because in the project it was written 5 transnational focus groups, so we means 1 in each country. Because but if you want to do 2, it's okay. Enki, I don't understand very well your idea of start, middle, and end.
It's more based on what just was said, to come back to them and to show them what you have done with and
Okay.
what the results will be, that you also share it. So that's
I think
yes, but it's not. We don't need a focus group about it. We can involve them after during the project with the activities, but the focus group is focused. Sorry for the words. Is focused on the first part of the research that we need about the situation and the learning needs. So it's not related really with the evolution of the project. We can use the focus group in the first part of the project, but we have other moments during the project to engage the people, the young people and the workers to share the results,
Okay.
but not through a focus group.
Okay, thank you.
Marina, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just to say something that if somebody has, I mean, like a slight experience in focus groups or anyway in group sessions, because it's similar with a different goal and of course with not such deep issues to discuss, but anyway. In my opinion, this person could manage a group of, let's say, more than 7 people within the group discussion. But if somebody is not experienced in this, I think that 5 people, maximum 6, would get better results, because after this it will be really, really hard to manage. This is something that I'm speaking like from experience only. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That would be also really clever, that the initial person, the moderator of the focus group, to be experienced, and only the moderator can speak, can ask questions, can rephrase, can reflect, can blah, blah, blah. And it would be great to have a second person, even with 5 kids, a second person just to write notes and to address when something doesn't go well, but according to the directions that the moderator will give. I mean, it's good to have 2 people inside. Okay. And also it would be good because it is a research method. Okay. That means that when we do, like, let's say, qualitative research, we ask questions, we get the answers that we want. But when we do a thematic analysis, and I mean, sometimes we also need to write that, because in the transcription we will not remember a lot of body language and other things that may come up. So you need the second person to be able to write notes and to comment, to write notes on the session.
Let me tell you on top of what Marina said, if you're not recording, then it's okay to say to the focus group participants that this person is here to take notes of the session, right? Because obviously the moderator, they're busy enough moderating, they can't take notes at the same time. So you definitely need one person just to take notes if you're not recording. Okay. In the recording, what you need to do beforehand, it's a technical thing, but very, very important. Do a mock-up between your colleagues in the room you're going to implement the focus group discussion of voice, if actually the recording is good enough. Okay. And if afterwards you can hear it and see whether it's good enough. You need to make sure from beforehand that technically the recording works. Because then you might have no notes, no recording, like, so it goes really, really bad in the end.
And okay. Because you want
preparation at the beginning beforehand.
Yes, safe than sorry. You will have 2 devices to record.
Yeah, yeah. Even 2, exactly.
You have to be sure, okay? And also you need to have somebody, I mean, okay, if you are super experienced, it's fine, okay, you know the risk, you can deal with it. But if you're not super experienced, and I'm not speaking as an experience, and most of the times I need somebody to take these notes. And most of the times I don't remember, and I cannot see, listening to the transcription, what I cannot remember what exactly happened, because the voice is different, the body language is different. Yeah, that is why it's good to also have it.
Sorry, just another thing about it's about the focus groups, and just to have a common rule about it, because I think it's important to decide just to have we must to try to have data that is as comparable as possible. So it will be important to decide to share a general rule. Should we keep workers and young people separate? So this means doing at least 2 focus groups. I don't have an idea. We can share about it. It could be different experiences, of course. We can try also to be realistic and understand what everyone can do. So it's better, in your idea, to have 2 focus groups separated, one with the young people and one with the social workers, operators.
I think so, yes, Guido, because the issue is the theme of what we're doing is very interesting, and it would make a lot of sense to have them combined, but in a sense of a creative type of session, right? Where the youth workers would start sharing concerns and their feedback as well, but mostly to co-create things. But in a focus group discussion, the dynamics could be very, if not everyone can handle the power dynamics between the youth workers and the children, it can be a total, no. Because it's important to accommodate for that, and it's important to be knowledgeable about how to handle that power dynamic, especially if we're talking about youth workers who actually work with the children on a daily basis, right? It could work both ways. I mean, it could prove really good because you have the pre-established very good relationships between the children and the youth workers, but if you don't know what that is, you don't want to risk any power dynamics. Let me just put it that way, right? So it would be safer if we said for everyone in the consortium to have 2 separate ones.
Yes.
I totally agree.
Yes.
And we also need the translator, of course.
Yeah. I mean, an interpreter could work even in the mixed one. That's not a problem. I mean, the youth workers could talk, and then the interpreter would interpret back to the children. But in any case, as I said, the interpretation is always an additional big complication that you cannot avoid. This is what it is. But they're all used to it, because even the youth workers, they work with interpreters. The children, they have interpreters. It's a matter of controlling the whole session afterwards. That's it. Marina, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I just would like to say that we are speaking about 9 minutes and 90 minutes and 2 hours. Well, in my opinion, the 2 hours would apply mainly when you work with an interpreter. I mean, otherwise it might be difficult to engage. For the participants to be engaged in a focus group, in this kind of focus group. So,
well, actually, my experience is totally different. So I don't know. It really depends. I mean, most of my focus groups, people wanted to stay and talk more, yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm saying, oh, I'm doing a great job or what. It's not that. It has to do with the type of people you are recruiting and the team you have around you. It's like everything. If it's well prepared, this is what you get. Let me just put it that way, right? So 2 hours usually for me, I mean, I have to stop it at some point. So it really depends.
Because you consider
No, but yeah, I mean, but Marina is generally right. I mean, you can, I mean, you can have a focus group in 1.5 hours and be fine with it. Or you can say 1 hour, 1.5 hours to 2 hours and aim for 1.5 hours, and it might usually go to 2 hours in the end, right? So, you have that flexibility in terms of time. So in case you don't have, you see that you don't cover some subjects enough, you have that additional half hour for yourself to, to work more with some items in the questions.
There is one question that I would like to ask, and if Ophelia, are you? Okay, yeah, I see you. Also, we are speaking about migrant youth,
Yes.
right? And youth workers. Okay, in the youth, in the term, like in the case of youth workers, we can have both, like the genders, female, male, and non-binary, like whatever somebody wants, we can have. But what happens with the focus groups where we mainly, for the migrants, when we mainly have male participants? I mean, how would we address this thing? Or we don't need to address, and it will be one of the topics.
Well, thanks God, I have I'm very sorry, this may sound a little bit of tautology, but I have to refer to the project proposal. So I have reread it, and there, thanks God, there is no specification regarding gender equality. So we do not divert from the course of the project if we have only men, because this is also data. For example, when we talk about unaccompanied minors, there is also statistical research data confirming that there are more male unaccompanied minors than women. So we can just say that in our case, this data research is confirmed. So I'm more of because I would say this way, the absence of young females, unaccompanied minors, female minors is also something to confirm. The absence is also data, is also science. So we just refer to this, that we don't have them. This confirms the statistics.
Just to
also the
confirm
case for us.
just to confirm what Ophelia is saying, it wasn't a lack of attention about gender equality, but it was just to look at the reality of partnership. For us, for example, we have only shelter of young men, so it was really difficult to have a balanced view about genders.
And for me, basically, this gender equality clause is more relevant, for example, gender equality, LGBTQ society, for migration context, etc., is more relevant for AMIC projects rather than for Erasmus+. So we can keep it more in general.
But we can try to keep it in mind for the youth workers.
Yes.
So it's not a problem of migrants, but we can try to keep in mind the gender equality in the youth workers, in focus group of youth workers.
But then there we have another extreme. There are more
women.
Yeah,
We will try to have a different point of view if we can. If we have any male youth workers that we could engage, or maybe the mediators, for example. So.
Yeah, because they are more in VT sector for vocational skills, etc., rather for socio-pedagogic.
And so if we, I'm sorry, you go, Lorena, you go.
Thanks. I have a question. The workers in the focus group have to be the same that in the questionnaire, or they can be different?
Can be different, right?
different, yes.
Okay, perfect.
We finished today? Questionnaire.
Okay, and the other question is about deadlines, about a focus group and questionnaire, because I have a mix of dates in my mind right now.
So if I'm not mistaken, we have seen during our meeting in Bochum that in the previous alignment meeting, we have said that for the desk research, the deadline would be the end of December. But perhaps for the focus groups, we have decided that we have until February to complete them, right? So maybe we can start the questionnaire during this period of time so they are ready for January, and then at the same time try to organize the focus groups so that we are ready to do them in the perhaps first weeks of February, so that there is enough time to process everything, or maybe end of January if you can organize them. At this in this situation, I just want to say one thing related to what Marina has said. So you suggested that if we are not very experienced with focus group, it would be better to have smaller groups. So in that case, it would be like 3 focus group, because I think that for maybe youth workers, we don't need more than 1 focus group. We can manage to reach because they are also only 4, right? For youth workers that we have to interview for each country. But for the young people, we will have 12 minors, it's at least for unaccompanied minors, so it will be 12 young people. So Marina suggested at least to make the group smaller, so like 6 young people, so it would be 2 focus group for young people, right? If we do it like this.
I thought it should be 8, 4 minors and 4 young people.
Should be 12 minors, and in this group of 12 minors, it should be 4 unaccompanied minors.
No. I would agree with Anki. For 8 young people in total, 4 social workers, and among these 8, minimum 50% must be unaccompanied minors.
Oh, okay, sorry. So we can do it in, what do you suggest, Marilena and Marina and Vicky? Do we have to do 2 different groups for young people to manage them better, or we can try and do 1?
Well,
I
it's
believe
really up to you, really. I mean, 8 people is really manageable. I mean, there's no real difference between 6 and 8. There's a difference between 4 and 8, but you know, I would go for the 8, really. I mean, just prepare well, and I think, yeah.
And it would be, I mean, what would be challenging, and you just need to discuss about it prior, is that when you have like 50% of totally unaccompanied minors and 50% of minors that actually have parenting, parental care, I mean, you have a totally different group. So you need to discuss and how you will address and what might come up, but it's something that
Yeah,
has to
we probably will have only unaccompanied minors, because in our shelters there are only unaccompanied minors, so the group would be more uniform in a way. But thank you.
Yeah, I mean, 8 is very manageable, so it's
Yeah.
So I really hope that everyone got at least one thing that, you know, is useful for you. I really hope so. In any case, as I said, we're gonna send everything. You can ask us any questions in the process, CCing everyone so that, you know, everyone is on board. But yeah, I really hope it was useful, at least for some.
Well, it was anyhow very useful to have everything what is related to conversations like this, that you have it all again. So that is always good to, well.
Thank you, Anki.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely. Thank you so much for all the details, because it's very useful to also have this reminder of how to manage situation, to how to ask questions. So thank you. And also thank you for providing us with all the materials.
Yeah, we will right at the end.
Thank you.